I'd like to continue our discussion of Matthew chapter 13. We've been talking about the parables of Jesus. We've seen the parable of the sower, the parable of the weeds and the wheat. The next parable that Jesus gets into is the parable of the mustard seed. The mustard seed is really a different kind of parable than some of the others. He starts out in verse 31, and Jesus says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a person took and sowed in a field." And in verse 32, Jesus says, "It is the smallest of all the seeds, yet when full grown, it is the largest of plants, becomes a large bush, and the birds of the sky come and dwell in its branches." So the seed starts very small, and then it blossoms. Well, what is Jesus talking about here exactly? Interesting is some of the background from the Hebrew scriptures behind this particular parable. If we go to the book of Daniel, chapter 4, verses 7 to 9, we find this. "These were the visions I saw while in bed. I saw a tree of great height at the center of the world. It was large and strong, with its top touching the heavens, and it could be seen to the ends of the earth. Its leaves were beautiful, and its fruit abundant, providing food for all. Under it the wild beasts found shade, in its branches the birds of the air nested. All men ate of it." And so Jesus is, in this parable, echoing a very beautiful vision that Daniel has. And he's trying to relate the kingdom that he is bringing to the people, to this kingdom that Daniel is talking about. And it's a very interesting vision Daniel has of this huge tree. And it's interesting that the tree is at the center of the world. So this tree is going to gather all together. It's right at the center. It's so important to the world. Just as Jesus is saying, the kingdom that he is coming to proclaim is at the center of the world. It is so important. It is so significant, this kingdom, this special kingdom. And this kingdom is large and strong. So it's a big kingdom that Jesus is inaugurating. And just like the tree is large and strong, so the kingdom that Jesus is bringing is large and is strong. And just as this tree, this large tree that Daniel has the vision of, touches the heavens, so the kingdom that Jesus is proclaiming from this little mustard seed is going to touch all the way to the heavens. This it seems kind of so unusual because it's so tiny, this little seed. How is it going to touch all the way to? How is it going to bring us to heaven? How is it going to bring us to God? I mean, Jesus is proclaiming this kingdom in this small little country that is dominated by another country. How is it possible that it's going to reach the whole world and be large and strong? It seems beyond our imaginations, right? And this tree can be seen to the ends of the earth. Imagine, if you would, a tree that can be seen to the ends of the earth. I mean, this is some tree. And what Jesus is saying is, this is some kingdom. It will spread to the far regions of the earth. This message of God's love for us and our call to love one another, this is going to spread and spread, and there's no stopping it. It's going to be large. It's going to be strong. It's going to spread all the way up to the heavens. It's going to bring people to the heavens. And it's going to spread to the very ends of the earth. And the tree's leaves were beautiful and abundant. Just as this kingdom is full of people who who are beautiful people who are trying to follow God, who are abundant people who are fruitful in their lives and in their works of charity and love for others. And this tree will provide food for all. And of course, Jesus in the Eucharist gives us food for all, to feed the hungry. He gives us his very self to feed the hungry. And under this tree, the wild beasts are finding shade. Even those who are wild are part of this kingdom. It's not only the tame ones, it's the ones who are struggling, or a little on the wild side, who need some special guidance, special help. They're part of this kingdom too. And its branches, the birds of the air. So all can nest in the branches, and all men and women and children can eat from this. So this vision of Daniel, Jesus is evoking it in this parable of the mustard seed. Daniel goes on to speak about it a little bit more in chapter 4, verses 17 to 19, which again is very interesting background for what Jesus is saying. Daniel says, "My Lord Belteshazzar replied, 'This dream should be for your enemies, and its meaning for your foes. The large, strong tree that you saw with its top touching the heavens, that could be seen by the whole earth, which had beautiful foliage and abundant fruit, providing food for all, under which the wild beasts lived, and in whose branches the birds of the air dwelt. You are that tree, O king, large and strong. Your majesty has become so great as to touch the heavens. Your rule extends over the whole earth.'" So here Daniel's pointing out that this king is going to be like that tree. His message will be extensive and his rule for the whole earth. And of course, Jesus has come to spread the message with everyone in the whole earth. That the mustard becomes a large tree is, unfortunately, a botanical impossibility. It's not going to happen. So this is a story. This is a parable. A lowly garden herb that grows right in one's own backyard. That's what it is. It's very tiny. It grows to be 10 to 12 feet high. Not the highest of trees. 10 to 12, nice, but of course we know trees that are much larger. God's reign is not in a majestic empire, but it's going to come in weakness. It's very interesting how Jesus relates this. The kingdom will come, but not by conquest, not by force of arms. It will come in weakness. Such a good lesson for us. We are so into power and trying to impress might and awe. Jesus says, no, my kingdom is different. It is a kingdom that will come to you in weakness. Not a kingdom in great strength, but a kingdom in weakness. And the faith will be spread by the apostles in an unpretentious way. They will go around from town to town, speaking to people, inviting them. Some will accept them, some will reject them. We think of today, we see some accept, some reject. We're unpretentious. In many ways we can say the church is weak compared to the forces of a government or armies. We're weak. We're unpretentious. But we have the message from Jesus. And we share that message. And we invite all to partake of the message. The mustard is very interesting because it grows in an uncontrollable way. And it crosses over boundaries. And it mixes with other crops. So you can't control this mustard seed. It's expanding, it's spreading all over. And it's kind of an image of how Gentile Christians were growing with the Jewish believers. It's a beautiful image that Jesus evokes in Matthew. So this mustard seed, it's uncontrollable, it's growing all over the place, and all of a sudden it's mixing with other crops. Could drive farmers a little, a little crazy with this mustard seed, right? So uncontrollable, but really it's a sign of the Spirit and how Gentiles and Christians, Jewish believers of all stripes, can meet together and share together their belief in God and their belief in love for one another. The idea of the reign of Jesus beginning in such a small and humble way and then growing to become so big. This was a scandal to Judaism. This is not the way you should do it, starting small and growing. No. Start with power and might and ceremonies and conquests and all of that. You just say, no, that's not what's going to happen here. What's going to happen here is very simple. We're going to start in a small, unpretentious way, and then we're going to grow by inviting others and sharing faith with others and sharing that dynamic of love for others together. So this was a scandal for our Jewish sisters and brothers, but also a scandal for the disciples of Jesus. They were looking for the big splash. What you get with Jesus is different. It's weakness, it's invitation, it's seeming defeat. It's that small little seed that grows by the power of God's grace and by the power of God's love.